The transport ship docked at Meridian 7 with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Among the 200 passengers shuffling through the arrival gates, Ji Woo was completely unremarkable. She carried a small gray backpack that looked like it had seen better days. Her clothes were plain and loose, the kind that workers wore when they couldn't afford anything better. Her dark hair fell across her face, hiding most of it from view. When the security officer scanned her identification chip, he barely looked up. Purpose of visit? He asked, already bored. Work, Ji Woo said softly. Her voice was so quiet, he had to lean forward to hear it. Yeah, you and everyone else. He waved her through. Next, Ji Woo walked into the main concourse of Meridian 7, one of the largest orbital stations in the outer spiral. The ceiling stretched 5 stories high, covered in advertisements that flashed in a dozen alien languages. Thousands of beings moved through the space. There were tall Volturans with their blue scales and 4 arms. Small Prixians skittered between the crowds on 6 legs. Humans like her, though not many. She kept her head down and let the crowd carry her forward. The lower district was where she needed to go. That was where people like her ended up, people with no money and no connections. She took 3 different lifts down, each one more crowded and dirty than the last. The air grew thicker with cooking smells and machine oil. The lights flickered. Down here, the station showed its age. She found a job posting board near a food market. Most of the listings were in broken standard, offering terrible wages for dangerous work. One caught her eye. Cook needed. Noodle shop. Lower Market, Section 14. There was an address. Ji Woo pulled the paper slip from the board and followed the directions. The noodle shop was squeezed between a repair garage and a clothing stall. It was small, with only 6 tables and a counter. Behind the counter stood a Volturan, his blue scales scarred and faded with age. He was stirring a massive pot of broth. All 4 of his arms working at once, stirring, chopping, seasoning, and wiping down the counter. Ji Woo stood in the doorway for a long moment before the Volturan noticed her. You want food or what? He growled. The job, Ji Woo said quietly. The posting. For a cook. The Volturan looked her up and down. She was small, even for a human. Maybe 5 feet tall and thin. She looked like a strong wind might knock her over. You know how to cook? He asked. Yes. You steal from me, I'll throw you out an airlock. You understand? Yes. Fine, you start now. Name's Kresh. You call me boss. He jabbed a thick finger at an apron hanging on a hook. Put that on. You're on dishes first. I need to see if you'll actually show up tomorrow. Ji Woo put on the apron. It was too big. She rolled up the sleeves and got to work. The dishes were endless. Kresh ran his shop alone, and apparently he'd been piling up dirty bowls for days. Ji Woo worked in silence, her hands moving steadily through the hot water. She didn't complain. She didn't ask for breaks. When Kresh barked orders, she followed them immediately. By the end of the shift, Kresh was looking at her differently. You come back tomorrow, he said. It wasn't a question. 6 in the morning. Don't be late. I won't be, Ji Woo said. She found a dormitory nearby that rented beds by the week. The room had 20 bunks crammed into a space meant for 10. Most of the occupants were human, though there were a few Prixians and one lonely Volturan who snored loud enough to shake the walls. Ji Woo paid for a top bunk in the corner, the least desirable spot, which meant it was cheapest. She climbed up, pulled a thin blanket over herself, and closed her eyes. The days fell into a pattern. Wake before dawn. Work at the noodle shop. Serve customers. Clean. Go back to the dormitory. Sleep. Repeat. Ji Woo spoke only when necessary. She never met anyone's eyes for more than a second. When customers tried to chat with her, she gave one-word answers and moved away as quickly as possible. The other worker in the dormitory tried to befriend her. Her name was Hana, a human woman about the same age as Ji Woo. Hana worked as a mechanic in the docking bay and always came back covered in grease and smiling anyway. "Hey, you're in the noodle shop, right?" Hana asked one evening, sitting on the bunk below Ji Woo's. "I've seen you there. Kresh is a good boss once you get used to the yelling." Ji Woo said from above. "I'm Hana. What's your name?" "Ji Woo." "Nice to meet you, Ji Woo. You been on the station long?" "Not long. Where are you from originally?" "Earth." Hana laughed. "Yeah, me too." "I mean, which part?" "East," Ji Woo said quietly. "Seoul region." "Oh, cool. I'm from Bizen area myself." "Small world, huh?" Hana waited for a response. When none came, she tried again. "Hey, there's a good bar in Section 12. Some of us go there after shifts. You should come sometime." "I'm tired," Ji Woo said. "Thank you." Sure. Well, offer stands any time." Hana kept trying for a few more days, but eventually she got the message. Ji Woo wanted to be left alone. The other dormitory residents started ignoring her too. She became part of the background, just another tired worker trying to survive. But while everyone saw a quiet, scared girl, none of them noticed certain things. They didn't notice that Ji Woo never really slept, just lay still with her eyes closed. They didn't notice how she always knew exactly where everyone in a room was without looking. They didn't notice that her eyes, when she thought no one was watching, were constantly scanning, calculating, assessing threats. They didn't notice because they didn't need to. Ji Woo was very good at being invisible. Meanwhile, in the shadows of Meridian 7, other things were happening. Workers disappeared from the lower districts regularly. Everyone knew about it, but no one talked about it. Battalion Compact ran the real business of the station drugs, weapons, and worst of all, people. Their leader, a Krill warlord named Vexer, had turned the lower districts into his personal hunting ground. Station security didn't patrol down here. They'd been paid to look away. Ji Woo heard the whispers. She saw the fear in people's eyes when Talion enforcers walked by. She noticed which alleys people avoided and which sections emptied out after dark. She noticed everything, but she said nothing. She kept her head down. She served noodles and cleaned tables and was polite and quiet and completely unremarkable until the day Hana didn't come back to the dormitory. Hana's bunk stayed empty that night. Ji Woo lay on her own bunk, staring at the ceiling. The other residents whispered about it in the darkness. "Probably the Talion," someone muttered. "They've been taking more people lately. Poor girl. She was nice. Should we tell security? Are you stupid? Security doesn't care. They'll just mark her as voluntarily missing." The whispers faded into snores. Ji Woo remained still, her breathing slow and even. But inside, something was shifting. Something cold and old and very, very dangerous. At 2 in the morning, Ji Woo climbed down from her bunk. She moved without sound. She changed into dark clothes pants and a long-sleeved shirt she'd kept at the bottom of her bag. She pulled her hair back tight. Then she left the dormitory. The lower district was different at night. Most shops were closed, their metal shutters pulled down and locked. The few people still out were either drunk or looking for trouble. Ji Woo avoided them easily, slipping through shadows like she was made of smoke. She'd spent 3 weeks on this station learning its layout. She knew which maintenance tunnels connected to which sections. She knew where the security cameras were and where the blind spots existed. She knew which corridors were used for illegal transport and which times they were. Busiest. Information gathering was a habit she'd never quite broken. The maintenance tunnels beneath Section 14 were narrow and poorly lit. Water dripped from old pipes. The air smelled like rust and chemicals. Ji Woo moved through them without hesitation. She knew exactly where she was going. 3 Talion enforcers were moving through the tunnel, forcing 6 people ahead of them. The captives had their hands bound and their mouths covered. One of them was Hana. Even in the dim light, Ji Woo recognized her. The enforcers were large 2 krill warriors with thick armor and 1 Voltaren with cybernetic arms. They carried shock prods and energy pistols. They were laughing about something, completely confident. Why wouldn't they be? No one ever challenged the Talion compact. Ji Woo stepped out of a side passage, directly into their path. She looked small and lost, her eyes wide. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm looking for the market." I got turned around. The Voltaren enforcer grinned, showing metal teeth. "Wrong place, little human. Very wrong place. Please, I just need—" The Voltaren reached for her. His hand never made contact. Ji Woo's movements were so fast that the security cameras later couldn't capture them clearly. She grabbed the Voltaren's reaching arm, twisted it at an impossible angle, and drove her other hand into his throat. The strike crushed his windpipe. He went down gurgling. The first krill had half a second to react. He raised his shock prod. Ji Woo had already closed the distance. She used the krill's own momentum against him, redirecting his prod into his partner's face. There was a crackle of electricity. The second krill convulsed and dropped. The first krill was strong. He threw a punch that would have shattered concrete. Ji Woo wasn't there anymore. She'd moved inside his guard, too close for him to hit effectively. She struck 3 times throat, solar plexus behind the knee. The krill dropped to his knees. Ji Woo grabbed his head and twisted. The crack echoed through the tunnel. Total time elapsed. 12 seconds. The captives stared at her in shock. Hana's eyes were huge above her gag. Ji Woo pulled a small knife from her boot. She'd bought it at the market 2 weeks ago, just in case, and cut their bonds. "Run," Ji Woo said quietly. "Follow this tunnel north. It comes out near the security station. Tell them you escaped. Don't mention me." "Who?" one of the captives started. "Run, now." They ran. Hana was the last to leave, staring at Ji Woo like she'd never seen her before. Maybe she hadn't. Ji Woo gently pushed her toward the others. "Go, Hana. You're safe now." Hana stumbled after the group. Ji Woo waited until they were gone, then dragged the 3 bodies into a side maintenance room. She arranged them carefully, made it look like they'd killed each other in a fight. It wouldn't fool a real investigator, but the Talion wouldn't bring in real investigators. She was back in her bunk by 4 in the morning. No one had noticed she was gone. The next day, the station was buzzing with news. 6 captives had escaped from the Talion compact. 3 enforcers were found dead. Security was investigating, but everyone knew nothing would come of it. Still, people in the lower district walked a little taller. Maybe the Talion weren't as untouchable as everyone thought. Hana came back to the dormitory that afternoon, checked by medical and released. She was quiet, subdued. When the other residents asked what happened, she said she didn't remember much. It was dark. There was a fight. Someone helped us, but I don't know who. Ji Woo served noodles at Krish's shop like always. She kept her head down. She didn't talk to anyone. When Hana came in for dinner that evening, Guy Woo served her bowl without meeting her eyes. "Thank you," Hana said softly. She wasn't talking about the noodles. Ji Woo said nothing. That night, in a fortified warehouse in Section 8, Vexer was furious. The Krill warlord was 8 feet tall, with armored plates covering his body and 4 eyes that glowed red. He slammed his fist on a metal table, denting it. 3 of my best enforcers, dead, and 6 valuable captives escaped. His voice was like grinding stone. How? His second in command, a thin krill named Rykos, pulled up security footage on a holoscreen. The cameras in that sector are old. The footage is poor quality. But there was something. The footage showed the tunnel. 3 enforcers. 6 captives. Then a small figure appeared. The next frames were a blur of motion. Then 3 bodies on the ground. Play it again, Vexer ordered. Slower. Rykos slowed the footage to quarter speed. Even then, the figure moved too fast to see clearly. But certain things became visible. The figure was small, human-sized. The way it moved was trained, precise, professional. "We have a problem," Rykos said quietly. Vexer stared at the screen. "Find them. I want every informant we have searching." Someone killed 3 armed enforcers in under 20 seconds. That's not luck. That's skill. He turned to Rykos. "Post a bounty. A big one. I want this killer found." Over the next 2 weeks, the Talion Compact hemorrhaged assets. A drug warehouse in Section 11 was raided, its guards found unconscious, and all product destroyed. A safe house in Section 15 was hit, 4 enforcers dead, 12 captives freed. A corrupt security officer who took Talion bribes was found beaten nearly to death in his own office. All his records of Talion payments sent to the station console. Each incident happened at night. Each time, the attacker was described the same way by the few survivors. Small, fast, and utterly silent. Some said it was a ghost. Others said it was a human, but that seemed impossible. Humans were weak. Humans didn't move like that. Ji Woo served noodles during the day. She smiled politely at customers, her voice always soft and gentle. She listened to Kresh complain about suppliers and nodded sympathetically. She ate dinner alone in the corner of the shop after closing, reading old news articles on a borrowed tablet. At night, she hunted. She didn't enjoy it. That's what people never understood. Killing wasn't fun. It wasn't thrilling. It was just something she was very, very good at. And the Talion Compact needed to be stopped. The lower district changed. People started walking the streets at night again. Workers whispered about the ghost who was fighting back against the Talion. Hope was a dangerous thing on Meridian 7, but it was starting to grow. Vexer knew it too. And he knew he had to stop it. Commander Tae Young had been head of Meridian 7 security for 8 years. He'd seen corruption, violence, and suffering that would break most people. But lately, something strange was happening in his station, and he didn't know whether to be worried or grateful. 40 Talion operatives dead in 2 weeks. Not arrested. Dead, and no one knew who was doing it. He sat in his office, reviewing security footage for the 10th time. The attacker was careful, always staying in camera blind spots or moving too fast to identify. But he'd found something. In one piece of footage from Section 15, the attacker had passed under a light for just a fraction of a second. Tae Young froze the frame and enhanced it. A small figure, human, female probably, dark hair. He couldn't see the face, but the body type was clear. He ran the footage through analysis software, measuring height and build. 5 feet tall, maybe 90 pounds. The computer flagged it as an error. No one that small could kill 4. Armed krill warriors. But Tae Young had learned long ago that computers didn't understand humans very well. He started pulling records of every small human woman who'd arrived on the station in the past month. There were 17. He began investigating each one. Meanwhile, Vexer was planning. Rykos had suggested a trap, and for once, Vexer agreed. They would give this ghost, Something it couldn't ignore. The announcement went out through the lower district networks. Public execution in the market square. Section 14. 3 captives. All children. Tomorrow at sunset. The Talion Compact wanted to remind everyone who was really in control. The lower district reacted with horror and rage. But what could they do? The Talion had dozens of enforcers guarding the execution site. They had snipers on the upper levels. They had every entrance monitored. This was a trap. Everyone knew it, but it was also real. Those children would die unless someone stopped at G-Wu heard the news while serving lunch. A customer mentioned it to his friend, his voice low and angry. They're killing kids now, right out in the open. This station has gone to hell. She said nothing. She finished her shift. She went back to the dormitory. Hana was there, sitting on her bunk with her head in her hands. You heard? Hana asked when Ji-Woo climbed up to her bunk. Yes, it's a trap for whoever's been hitting the Talion. Everyone knows it. Yes, those kids are going to die. Ji-Woo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, very softly, no, they're not. Something in her voice made Hana look up. She stared at the bunk above her. Who? What do you? But Ji-Woo wasn't there anymore. Hana climbed up and looked. The bunk was empty. She hadn't even heard her leave. Sunset in Section 14. The market square had been cleared. 3 posts stood in the center, with 3 children tied to them, 2 human boys and a Prixian girl, none older than 10. They were crying. Around them stood 30 Talion enforcers in full combat armor. On the upper walkways, 6 snipers waited with energy rifles. Vexer himself stood on a platform overlooking the square, his 4 red eyes scanning the crowd. Let this be a lesson, Vexer announced, his voice amplified to echo through the district. No one challenges the Talion Compact. No one. When this ghost reveals itself to save these children, we will kill it. And then we will kill the children anyway. This is the price of resistance. The crowd watched in silent horror. Security officers stood at the edges, but they didn't move. They'd been ordered not to interfere. Execute them, Vexer ordered. 3 enforcers raised their weapons, aiming at the children. The Prixian girl screamed. Then the lights went out. Every light in Section 14 died simultaneously. The market square was plunged into complete darkness. Emergency lights should have activated, but they didn't. Someone had sabotaged them. Vexer roared in fury. Night vision. Finally, he never finished. In the darkness, something moved. The first sniper died without a sound, his throat cut from behind. The second sniper fired blindly, his energy rifle illuminating the darkness for a split second. It was enough to see a small figure moving impossibly fast across the upper walkway. Then that sniper died 2 down in the square. The enforcers activated flashlights attached to their armor. The beams swept through the darkness, searching. One beam caught a figure dropping from above. By the time the enforcer could aim his weapon, she was already moving. She used his own rifle against him, firing 3 shots that took down 3 more enforcers before rolling away into the shadows. It was chaos. The enforcers fired at anything that moved. They hit each other more than they hit their target. Kai-Wu moved through them like water, always where they weren't looking, always striking from behind or the side. She used their weapons when she could take them, her bare hands when she couldn't. Every movement was efficient, precise, necessary. She reached the children. Cut their bonds. Run, she told them. North exit. Security will protect you. She didn't know if that was true, but they needed to believe it. They ran out. The remaining enforcers converged on her position. Ji-Woo used a market stall for cover, but energy blasts were tearing it apart. She was pinned down. This was the trap activating. They didn't need to see her clearly. They just needed to keep her in one place long enough for reinforcements. Then something unexpected happened. Bottles started raining down from the crowd. The civilians in the upper walkways were throwing anything they could find at the enforcers. It wasn't much, but it was enough distraction. Ji Woo moved Dot. She went straight for Vexer. If you cut off the head, the body died. That's what she'd learned in training. Vexer saw her coming this time. He was ready. He drew 2 massive plasma blades and grinned. There you are, Ghost. They fought in the darkness, lit only by the glow of his plasma blades and the occasional energy blast. Vexer was bigger, stronger, and his reach was twice hers. But Ji Woo was faster. She stayed inside his guard, where the big blades were harder to use. She struck at joints in his armor, looking for weaknesses. She found one. A gap under his left arm. She drove her knife into it. Vexer roared and backhanded her. Ji Woo flew through the air and crashed into a metal wall. Something cracked in her ribs. She gasped, struggling to breathe. Vexer advanced on her, one plasma blade raised. You're good, human, but not good enough. Energy blasts hit him from the side. Not civilian bottles this time. Proper security weapons. Commander Tae-Yang had entered the square with a squad of officers who weren't on Talion payroll. Station security. Tae-Yang shouted, "Stand down." Vexer hesitated. He could kill the human woman in front of him, but then he'd have to fight security too. Rykos appeared at his side. "Boss, we need to go, now." Vexer snarled but retreated. The Talion enforcers fell back, dragging their wounded. Within 2 minutes, the square was clear except for bodies. Tae-Yang approached Ji Woo carefully. She was leaning against the wall, one arm wrapped around her ribs, breathing hard. Her face was finally visible in the emergency lights that were starting to flicker back on Dot. She was young, maybe 25. She looked tired. "Don't move," Tae-Yang said. "I'm calling medical." "The children?" Ji Woo asked. "Safe, you're doing?" "Yes. Who are you?" Ji Woo looked at him. Even injured and exhausted, her eyes were calm and calculating. "No one important." "I don't believe that." He pulled up his tablet and ran a facial recognition scan. It took 30 seconds. When the results came back, Tae-Yang went pale. "Park Ji Woo," he read aloud. "Terran Ghost Division. You're supposed to be retired. I am retired." That didn't look very retired. Ji Woo said nothing. Around them, the crowd was starting to gather. People were pointing at her, whispering. Someone had recorded video of the fight. By morning, it would be all over the station. The quiet girl from the noodle shop was a legend. And everyone would know Ji Woo woke up in a security medical bay. Her ribs were wrapped tight, and her head hurt. A guard stood by the door, but he looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure if she was a prisoner or a patient. Commander Tae-Yang sat in a chair beside her bed. He'd been waiting how long? Ka-Woo asked, her voice rough. 6 hours. The doctors wanted to keep you sedated longer, but I figured you'd wake up when you were ready. He leaned forward. "We need to talk. Am I under arrest?" "I don't know yet." "That depends on what you tell me." He pulled out his tablet. "I've been reading your file. The parts that aren't classified. Anyway. Terran Ghost Division. Specialized Operations. 47 successful missions across hostile territory. Over 300 confirmed eliminations of high-value targets." He looked at her. "You were one of the most effective operatives Earth ever produced. Then 5 years ago, you resigned. No explanation in the public record." Ji Woo stared at the ceiling. "That's all true. What happened 5 years ago? Does it matter?" "It might. Help me understand why you're here." Why you're serving noodles in the lower district instead of working security or military contracts. Someone with your skills could write their own ticket anywhere. Ji Woo was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I wanted to stop. Stop what? Killing. Tae Young waited. When she didn't continue, he tried a different approach. The last mission. The one before you resigned. What happened? Ji Woo closed her eyes. For the first time since he'd met her, she looked vulnerable. Not dangerous. Just tired and hurt and human. There was a slave processing facility, she said quietly. On a planet called Vecros 3, the Krill Dominion was using it to sort human captives before selling them across the sector. Intelligence said there were 500 prisoners there. My team was sent to extract them. Your team? 12 operators. Good people. The best. Her voice was flat, emotionless, like she was reciting a report. We infiltrated successfully. Reached the prisoner holding area. Then the alarms went off. It was a trap. Someone had sold us out. The Krill were waiting. Tae Young felt cold. What happened to your team? They died. All of them. We tried to fight our way out, but there were too many. I was the last one alive. She opened her eyes. I killed a lot of Krill that day. Lost count. Just kept fighting. Eventually, they retreated. They thought I'd die from my wounds. I didn't? And the prisoners? Ji Woo's jaw tightened. Dead. All of them. The Krill executed them the moment the alarm went off. That was the point of the trap, make us watch them die before killing us too. I'm sorry. My brother was among the prisoners. Ji Woo's voice didn't change, but her hands clenched into fists. Dae Hyen. He'd been captured 3 months earlier during a colony raid. I didn't know he was there until I saw his body. That's why I took the mission. I'd heard rumors about Vecros 3, and I thought maybe... But I was too late. I'm always too late. Tae Young sat back. He'd seen a lot of trauma in his years, but this was different. This was someone who'd been forged into a weapon, and then had that weapon turned against everything she loved. After that, I couldn't do it anymore. Hui Wu continued. Every mission would be the same. Go in, kill the enemy, save some people but not others. Always making calculations about who lives and who dies. I was tired of being a weapon. I just wanted to be normal, invisible. I thought if I could disappear into a place like this, serve noodles, sleep in a dormitory, maybe I could forget what I was, but you couldn't. No, when Hannah was taken, I couldn't let it happen again. I couldn't watch another person die because I chose to do nothing. So you became a weapon again. Ji Woo looked at him. I never stopped being a weapon, Commander. I just tried to pretend I was something else. Tae Young pulled up the news feeds on his tablet. You're not invisible anymore. The video from last night has gone viral across the station. Everyone knows what you are now. The Talia knows. Vexor won't stop until you're dead. I know. And you're going to keep fighting anyway. Do I have a choice? Before Tae Yang could answer, the door burst open. Hana ran in, pushing past the guard. Is she Ji Woo? She stopped at the bedside, tears streaming down her face. You idiot. You stupid, brave idiot. It was you. All along it was you. Ji Woo looked uncomfortable. Hana, Shut up. Hannah grabbed her hand. Just shut up. You saved my life. You saved those kids. You've been saving people for weeks while everyone thought you were just some scared girl. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted you to see me as normal? Normal? Ji Woo, normal people don't take on crime syndicates alone. Normal people don't fight 30 armed soldiers to save children. Normal people. She stopped, wiping her eyes. I don't care if you're normal. You're my friend. That's what matters. Something in Ji Woo's expression cracked. For just a moment, the weapon disappeared, and there was just a young woman who desperately wanted to believe she could have friends. I'd put you in danger just by knowing you. Then I guess I better learn to shoot straight, Hana said. Because I'm not leaving you to fight alone. Hana, no, you don't get to protect everyone except yourself. That's not how friendship works. Ta Zhang watched the exchange with interest. Then his communicator beeped. He read the message and his expression darkened. We have a problem. He turned the tablet to show them. A live broadcast was playing from the Italian headquarters. Vexer stood in front of hundreds of chained civilians from the lower districts. Workers, shop owners, families. They were packed into a warehouse, surrounded by armed guards. Human called Ji Woo. Vexer's voice boomed from the speakers. I know you're watching. These people are payment for the damage you've caused. Every hour you don't surrender yourself, I execute 10 of them. Starting now. An enforcer raised his weapon toward a group of prisoners. They screamed, Wait. Vexer held up a hand. I'm feeling generous. You have until sunrise tomorrow. Come to my headquarters alone and unarmed. I'll let these people go. If you don't come, they all die. Your choice, Ghost. The broadcast ended. Ji Woo was already pulling the medical sensors off her body. I need weapons. You can't go, Tae Yang said. It's suicide. He'll kill you and the hostages. If I don't go, he kills them anyway. We can negotiate. Buy time. Bring in reinforcements from Earth. There's no time. Ji Woo stood up, swaying slightly. Sunrise is 10 hours away. He'll start killing people sooner if I don't respond. That broadcast was just to make it public. He wants everyone to watch me fail. Hannah grabbed her arm. Then we make a different plan. You're not going alone. I have to. That's the deal. Screw the deal, Hannah said fiercely. You're always the one protecting everyone else. This time, let us protect you. Ji Woo looked at her, then at Tae Yang. Something changed in her expression. For 5 years, she'd been alone. She'd thought that was the only way to keep people safe. But maybe she'd been wrong. All right, Ji Woo said quietly. Then here's what we're going to do. The plan was simple, which made it dangerous. Simple plans always were. Ji Woo would walk into Vexer's headquarters exactly as demanded, alone and unarmed. But she wouldn't be as helpless as she appeared. Hana and a group of sympathetic station workers would sabotage the building's systems. Tae Yang would position security forces outside, ready to storm in when the moment was right. And Ji Woo would do what she did best. Survive. 4 hours before sunrise. Ji Woo stood outside the Talion headquarters in Section 8. It was a converted cargo bay, heavily fortified with blast doors and guard towers. Spotlights illuminated the entrance where 24 enforcers waited. Behind them, she could see hundreds of civilians packed into the main bay, their faces pressed against the transparent walls. She wore the same plain clothes she always wore. No armor, no weapons visible. Her hands were raised to show they were empty. I'm here, she called out. Let them go. Vexer appeared at the entrance, his massive form blocking the light. Ah, the ghost reveals herself in daylight. How disappointing. You're so small. Let them go. That was the deal. The deal was you come alone. I said nothing about letting them go immediately. Vexer gestured. Come inside. Unarmed, as promised? As promised. We'll see about that. 4 enforcers surrounded her as she entered. They searched her roughly, checking for weapons. They found nothing. Ji Woo had meant it she'd come unarmed. At least, unarmed in the way they understood. Her body was a weapon. Her mind was a weapon. Those were things they couldn't search for. They walked her into the main cargo bay. It was exactly as bad as she'd feared. The hostages were packed so tightly they could barely move. Children crying. Adults terrified. All eyes turned to her as she entered. Some looked hopeful. Others looked angry that she'd actually come. Vexor climbed onto a raised platform where everyone could see him. Residents of Meridian 7, this is the ghost who has been killing my people. She calls herself Ji Woo. She's a human, just like many of you. Small, weak, but somehow she thought she could challenge the Talion Compact. The enforcers formed a circle around Ji Woo. At least 200 of them, all armed. On the upper walkways, snipers tracked her with energy rifles. There was no way out. That was the point. Before I kill her, Vexor continued, I want you all to understand something. This is what happens to heroes. They die, and everyone they tried to protect dies with them. Remember this lesson. He drew his plasma blade. Any last words, Ghost? Ji Woo looked up at him. Her expression was calm. Just one word, now. The lights went out. Every system in the building died simultaneously. Hana had done her part perfectly. Not just lights, gravity generators, security sensors, blast door locks, everything. The cargo bay was plunged into zero-gravity darkness. Chaos erupted. The enforcers floated helplessly, disoriented. The hostages screamed. In the confusion, Ji Woo moved. She'd trained extensively in zero-G combat. Most soldiers hadn't. That gave her an advantage. She used the floating bodies as springboards, ricocheting off them to build momentum. She grabbed weapons from surprised enforcers and used them immediately, firing shots that sent her spinning in the opposite direction, through the darkness. But she wasn't trying to kill everyone. That was impossible. She was trying to reach the blast door controls. If she could open the doors, the hostages could escape. That was the priority. Energy blasts lit up the darkness like lightning. The enforcers were firing blindly now, hitting each other as often as they hit nothing. Ji Woo used the confusion, always moving, never staying in one place. A lucky shot grazed her shoulder. She ignored the pain and kept going. She reached the door controls after 2 minutes of fighting. 2 minutes that felt like hours. She slammed her hand on the emergency release. The massive blast doors began to open. Stop her! Vexor roared from somewhere in the darkness. He'd activated some kind of personal glow system, lighting himself up like a beacon. He wanted her to see him. Wanted to draw her into a fight. Ji Woo knew it was a trap. She went anyway. Because that's what Vexor didn't understand about humans. Sometimes they chose the hard path, not because it was smart, but because it was right. She launched herself toward him through the zero gravity. Vexor was ready. He swung his plasma blade in a wide arc. In zero-G, the blade's momentum sent him spinning. Gu Wu used that. She grabbed his arm as it passed, redirecting both their momentum. They crashed into a wall together. Hand to hand in zero gravity was strange. Every action created an equal and opposite reaction. Push your enemy, you push yourself away. Strike too hard, you spin out of control. It became a dance of small, precise movements. Grappling, using your opponent's force against them. Ji Woo was smaller but faster. Vexor was stronger but clumsier in zero-G. They tumbled through the air, trading strikes. His armor protected him from most of her hits. Her speed kept her alive when his massive fists swung past her head, but Ji Woo was already injured. The cracked ribs from yesterday, the fresh wound on her shoulder. She was running on adrenaline and determination, and both were running out. Vexor grabbed her leg and slammed her into a support beam. Something else cracked. Ji Woo gasped, vision blurring. He pulled back his fist for a finishing blow. For the Talion. He roared. The fist never landed. A heavy metal pipe hit Vexer in the back of his head. Hannah floated behind him, holding the pipe with both hands. She hit him again. For my friend. Vexer spun, backhanding Hannah away. She tumbled through the air, unconscious or worse. That second of distraction was enough. Ji Woo grabbed the plasma blade that Vexer had dropped. She reversed her momentum, planted her feet against the wall, and launched herself at him one last time. The blade went through a gap in his armor, right into his chest. Vexer's 4 eyes went wide. He grabbed her with both hands, but his strength was fading. What? Are you? Ji Woo looked into his alien eyes. I'm what happens when you hurt someone a human cares about. Vexer died. His body went limp and drifted in the zero gravity. The blast doors were fully open now. Station security was pouring in, Taeyang leading them. They helped the hostages escape. Medical teams arrived for the wounded. The gravity generators came back online slowly, letting everyone float down safely. Ji Woo found Hannah floating nearby, blood trickling from her head. For a terrifying moment, she thought Hannah was dead. Then Hannah coughed and opened her eyes. Did we win? Hannah asked weakly. We won. Good. I'm taking a very long nap. Ji Woo laughed. It hurt her ribs, but she laughed anyway. When was the last time she'd done that? The aftermath took days to sort out. The Talion compact collapsed without Vexer's leadership. Station security arrested dozens of corrupt officials. The lower districts began to recover. Stories spread about the quiet girl who saved everyone. And the mechanic who helped her. Commander Taeyang officially reported Ai Wu as killed in action during the assault. Her identity was scrubbed from public records. It gave her a chance to disappear again if she wanted, but Ji Woo didn't disappear. 3 weeks later, she was back at Crush's noodle shop. The old Voltron had welcomed her back without asking questions. You show up, you work. That's all I care about. The shop was busier now. People came specifically to be served by her. Some wanted to thank her. Others just wanted to see the legend. Ji Woo served them all with the same quiet efficiency. Hannah recovered from her injuries and went back to work at the docking bay. She ate lunch at the noodle shop every day, sitting at the counter and chatting with Ji Woo between customers. Sometimes other friends joined them, workers Ji Woo had saved, people from the dormitory, even Commander Taeyang when he had time. Ji Woo was still quiet. She still kept her hair down, still spoke softly. But now she smiled sometimes. Real smiles. When Hannah made a joke, Ji Woo laughed. When regulars asked about her day, she actually answered. She'd learned something important during those desperate hours in Vexer's headquarters. She'd been wrong about invisibility. Being invisible didn't protect anyone. It just meant being alone. And alone, she could never protect everyone who needed protecting. But with friends, with people who cared about her and who she cared about in return. Maybe she didn't have to be alone anymore. The lower districts were safer now. Word had spread through the criminal underworld about what happened to the Talion compact. Other gangs thought twice before preying on the workers of Meridian 7, because they all knew the story. They knew that somewhere in those districts, serving noodles and living quietly, was someone who would stop them if they crossed the line. Ji Woo never wanted to be a hero. She just wanted to be normal. But normal humans, when pushed far enough, when someone they cared about was threatened, could become the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They didn't have armor or claws or plasma weapons, but they had something that terrified their enemies. They had persistence. They had determination. And once they decided something needed to be done, They wouldn't stop until it was finished. That was humanity. That was G-Woo. One evening, as she was closing up the shop, Hana stopped by. "There's a rumor," she said, "about a new gang moving into Section 19. They're talking about starting up the same stuff the Talion used to do." Ji-Woo finished wiping down the counter. "Is that so?" "Yeah, people are scared." Hana paused. "But I told them not to worry too much. I told them we have someone looking out for us."